Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the hearing today. I'd like to call this meeting of the House Game and Fisheries Committee to order. The purpose of this meeting is to consider, to talk about Sunday hunting at an informational hearing today. And we will be discussing, I'll let Rep. Steele discuss her bills briefly, but the main issue we're discussing today is Sunday hunting. I look forward to hearing from everyone here today. We're very appreciative of all the groups that have come. We have made certain that we have groups from both sides of the issue here today. We did not want to limit it to one side. So we are hearing from all sorts of folks today. I do ask, we are allowing the Game Commission to have close to 10 minutes if they need it. But everyone else, we're giving you 5 minutes, and I hope, I'm sorry to do that to you, but we have a lot of speakers today, and we need to keep to our timetable. We want to allow there to be time for our committee members to ask any questions they have. So I'm going to ask everyone on the panel here, all our legislative members, to please hold any questions until the end. Rep. Maloney, do you have any opening comments?
Let's roll.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Chair Kulik,
Here.
Chair Maloney,
Here.
Representative Hohenstein, Representative Mirsky, Representative Boyd,
They should all be coming. Leave.
Representative Cirisi, Representative Deloso, Representative Friel, Representative Gergely, Representative Grawl, Representative Haddock, Representative Kazim, Representative McNeil, Representative Piali,
Leave.
Representative Steele, Representative Devanzo, Representative Wentling, Representative Banta, Representative Cabell, Representative Dorsey, Representative Ecker, Representative Flick, Representative Kuzma, Representative Labs, Representative Mercury,
Okay, and I think some of the other representatives will be filing in as they can today. So we appreciate everyone. I'd like to turn it over to Representative Steele to give just a brief summary of her three bills.
Thank you, Chair Kulik. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I'll make an opening statement because this issue is very important to me personally and to so many of us here in Pennsylvania. I am honored to be the prime sponsor of this excellent package of bills, which is a true bipartisan, cross-discipline collaboration of multiple esteemed organizations that have been working on this issue for many, many years. Specifically, the Pennsylvania Game Commission, the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, Hunter Nation, Hunters United for Sunday Hunting, and many, many others. What a pleasure it has been to work with all of them. I have a big, busy family. And like so many families today, time together is something that we have to fight for. Sundays are an especially important family bonding day for us, a day we try to keep free of work, sports, music, and activities. It's a time for us to be outside together. We are hikers, we are mountain bikers, we are birders, we are trail stewards, land conservationists, and we are raising our children to be hunters. Sunday is an opportunity to educate our children about the great American tradition of protecting wild places and the deep connection to the land that comes through responsible and respectful hunting. It is a day to help my children understand what is on their plates when they choose meat, a day to help them understand the delicate balance of the natural world that we inhabit and their responsibility to protect it. A core value that has always been in the heart of our hunters. When I delved into this issue, knowing how impactful Sunday hunting could be in my own family and in thousands of other families across the Commonwealth, I began to understand that it is not just busy families that are advocating for Sunday hunting, but it is also our farmers that are being financially crippled by crop damage. It is our wildlife biologists shouting that we need it for herd management. And it is our forest ecologists that are seeing our great Pennsylvania woodlands decimated beyond repair by too large of a herd. We must heed this call from so many people so intimately connected with the land. And we have a moral responsibility to bring up a new generation of stewards of America's great natural resources. It is time to end the archaic prohibition on Sunday hunting. It is time to get more people connected to the land. And this comprehensive collaborative package of legislation is the way to do it. Thank you, Chair Kulik. And if it's okay with you, for the sake of time, I'll hand it over to Paul for a quick summary of the legislative package.
Sorry, folks, the microphone doesn't quite reach. Just very briefly, we have House Bill 2106, which would repeal the prohibitions on Sunday hunting and increase penalties for trespassing. We have House Bill 2107, which would provide an option for farmers, an expedient process for harvesting game, culling deer herds specifically, and some predatory animals, and also allowing the Game Commission a 2-year window to set up a system by which you could put interested farmers, connect them with hunters. And the third would provide that at least one member of the Game Commission's Board of Commissioners must have a background in agriculture.
Thank you. All right, we'd like to also welcome Rep. Haddock and Rep. Hohenstein are joining us now. We will now hear from the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Game Commission, Mr. Burhans. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairwoman Kulik, Chairman Maloney, and members of the House Game and Fisheries Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to provide the Game Commission's testimony on this very important pieces of legislation. First, I would like to commend Representative Steele on the approach you took in drafting these bills. You and staff for the committee have included the Game Commission and a variety of stakeholders throughout this process, and the legislation shows the benefits of that approach. Regarding House Bill 2108, the Game Commission has not historically taken a stance on legislation regarding the composition of the Board of Commissioners. We do not believe it would be appropriate for the agency to play a role in determining who will serve on the board. I can say, however, that during my time as Executive Director, to my knowledge, there has always been at least one board member who came from an agricultural background and understood the interests of that community. This legislation would ensure that practice continues. For House Bill 2107, the Game Commission recognizes the importance of these provisions and, if passed, will work to implement them efficiently and effectively. I would note that some of what is contained in the bill regarding the process of deer that were removed for crop damage is already starting to take place, and if this were to become law, we would increase those efforts and make sure the practice was uniform across the state. And finally, I'd like to talk about House Bill 2106, and in particular, the section that removes the prohibition on Sunday hunting and would allow Pennsylvania to join the ranks of the 39 other states that have no statutory restriction on hunting on Sundays. But before talking about the prospect of additional Sunday hunting, I believe it's important to start with what has happened recently. As for the past 4 years are indicative of what would happen if this bill were passed. The General Assembly took an important first step toward modernizing the law regarding hunting on Sundays with the passage of Act 107 of 2019, which allowed for additional Sunday hunting to occur on 3 days, one during firearms deer season, one during archery deer season, and one on a date determined by the Pennsylvania Game Commission Board of Commissioners. Since this act has been in effect, the board has set the third Sunday hunting day during the firearms bear season. In years since the law was changed, the additional Sunday days of hunting opportunities has been popular with hunters. A recent survey of active hunters found that over 60% of those questioned said they have taken advantage of at least one of the additional Sundays. The Sunday that takes place at the beginning of the firearms deer season has been, not surprisingly, the most popular, with over 90% of those who have hunted on Sunday hunting on that date. Another indication of the popularity of the increased opportunities among our hunters is the fact that during the past 4 years, license sales have remained at consistent levels. This is remarkable when considering that the nationwide trend is for licenses to decline over 3% per year, but we have not seen that in Pennsylvania. Additionally, over the same period since Sunday hunting went into effect, the safety record of Pennsylvania hunters has remained exemplary. There has not been one single incident in which a non-hunter was mistaken for game or injured by being in the line of fire. The concerns that expanded Sunday hunting would create safety conflicts between hunters and members of the public have not materialized. This is particularly significant given the popularity that hunting deer on a Sunday of the beginning of the firearm deer season has generated. That date is much more than just another Sunday, but one of the peak hunter participation, far exceeding that which would occur on any other Sunday on the calendar. For there not to be any safety incidents between hunters and members of the public on that Sunday peak speaks volumes about the ability of hunters and other outdoor recreationists to coincide. It also seems to indicate that Sunday hunting could be further implemented at times when hunter participation would be much lower than it is on that Sunday. It is important to note that the passage of House Bill 2106 would not automatically result in Sunday hunting being available on every Sunday of the year, but would allow the Board of Commissioners to decide which season should include Sundays after considering the biological impact on species and feedback from stakeholders, such as those who are in attendance today. An example of how the board would look to implement Sunday hunting comes from the passage of legislation which authorized the board to adopt regulations permitting the use of semi-automatic rifles. When exercising that authority, the board first solicited input from the public and directed that survey to be completed to measure the opinions of licensed hunters. After the survey showed that a clear majority of hunters favored the use of semi-automatic rifles for small game hunting, but opposed their use for big game, the board adopted regulations consistent with those results, and those regulations have remained in place up till today. In taking a measured approach, the board demonstrated its commitment to considering the interests of stakeholders as part of the decision-making process, and only exercising its authority when there is clear support for doing so. The board would use that same approach toward implementing further Sunday hunting opportunities, ensuring it is done through a transparent and deliberative process that takes into consideration a variety of stakeholders. It is for these reasons I am pleased to offer the Game Commission's full support for the legislation to remove the statutory barrier to Sunday hunting. We believe that in doing so is within the best interest, long-term interests of the sportsmen and women of the Commonwealth and scientific wildlife management. And I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you. And now we will hear from the Manager of Government Affairs and Communications for the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, Justin Clapper. Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
It is a typo.
You have a substitute.
Well, you are most welcome to be here.
Thank you.
If you want to state your name for the
I will do
record so
that.
we have it on the,
Good morning. I'm Andy Bader, Chairman of Pennsylvania Farm Bureau's Wildlife and Fisheries Committee, and I work with Mr. Clapper. I'd like to extend my gratitude to Chairwoman Kulik, Republican Chairman Maloney, and the other members and staff of the House Game and Fisheries Committee for inviting me to speak here today. Before proceeding with my remarks, I need to clarify that my comments do not in any way reflect my other official responsibilities with the Pennsylvania branch of the United States Department of Agriculture Farm Service Agency. Crop damage caused by wildlife has been identified as a top priority by Pennsylvania Farm Bureau members. Being new to my role as chairman of our Wildlife and Fisheries Committee, I dedicated much of 2023 to traveling across the state from Erie County to Chester County and Fayette County to Lackawanna County, speaking to farmers about this issue. One of the recurrent problems they face is damage caused by deer. Examples include soybeans nibbled down to the ground, Christmas trees deformed beyond repair, and the decimation of fields of sweet corn. This is not a localized issue. Farms of all sizes and commodities are impacted. For one Farm Bureau member in Crawford County, grain corn yields have been slashed in half, and in certain fields, soybeans can't be planted at all due to deer. For example, in an 8-acre section of soybeans, this farmer's average yield should have been around 80 bushels per acre. His yield was closer to 15 bushels per acre. With a bushel of soybeans worth $13 and a 65 bushel per acre loss, that 1-acre section of field would result in a loss of nearly $7,000. This simply isn't sustainable for the farmer. This preventable waste in our agricultural system is untenable when record numbers of the Commonwealth's residents are food insecure. That's why we're supportive of the Comprehensive Crop Damage Mitigation Plan outlined in House Bills 2106 through 2108. House Bill 2107 amends Title 34 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes to direct the Pennsylvania Game Commission to create an online network through which farmers can contact licensed hunters to manage deer populations on their property. With declining hunter numbers and an aging population, this bill provides the opportunity for sportsmen to have increased private land access and farmers with additional hunters to help manage deer. We've been working closely with the Game Commission and several hunting groups, and this bill would be a solution that benefits all parties. House Bill 2108 would amend Title 34 to require that at least one member of the Pennsylvania Board of Game Commissioners has a background in agriculture. Agriculture is the #1 industry in the Commonwealth, generating approximately $135.7 billion in total economic impact and supporting nearly 580,000 jobs. Additionally, Pennsylvania farmers manage 7.3 million acres of land in the Commonwealth. Having a commissioner with a background in agriculture is critical to the long-term sustainability of our industry. To my knowledge, there are currently 2 commissioners who meet the definition of a farmer included in House Bill 2108. This bill will ensure when those individuals are no longer serving, someone who has agricultural expertise will be appointed. Lastly, but by no means less important, House Bill 2106 would increase trespass penalties to better align us with neighboring states. This is something that Farm Bureau members have been in favor of for many years. As landowners, we bear the brunt of hunting trespass. House Bill 2106 also repeals the prohibition on Sunday hunting. In accordance with Pennsylvania Farm Bureau policy, we're supportive of Sunday hunting if all the policy priorities included in House Bills 2106 and 2108 are included. These crop damage mitigation measures, as outlined in Representative Steele's legislation, meet our policy objectives, therefore enabling our support of Sunday hunting. In conclusion, we're supportive of House Bills 2106 through 2108 and look forward to finding crop damage solutions that work for farmers and hunters alike. Thank you for your time this morning.
And now I'd call up the Pennsylvania State Director for Hunter Nation. If you could introduce yourself on the record, please.
Good morning. My name is John Bigeman. I'm the Pennsylvania State Director for Hunter Nation. I'm accompanied today by several other members of Hunter Nation, and we come before you in support of the package of bills introduced by Representative Mandy Steele. The bills that I will be addressing today are House Bill 2106, House Bill 2107, and House Bill 2108. One of the biggest issues impacting hunting in Pennsylvania is opportunity. If our long-established hunting heritage in Pennsylvania is to survive, we need to make sure that we maximize opportunities to hunt. At Hunter Nation, we strive to make the opportunity available to all people in this great country. A part of that mission is expanding habitat available to hunters, but another part of that mission is making time available for hunters who wish to carry on our nation's great hunting tradition or pass that tradition on to their children. This has become more and more difficult in the Commonwealth because of the busy work schedules. Many Pennsylvania workers are unable to take the day off during the week, and many have to work some weekends. For them, Sunday is the only readily available day for hunting. This is why Hunter Nation has fought so hard to keep the Saturday for the opening day of deer rifle season. These are hardworking, blue-collar Americans who should not be excluded from hunting on Sundays. The time has come to consider these families and allow Sunday hunting in Pennsylvania. Historic statistics indicate the hunting is inherently safe and for participating hunters and the non-hunting public alike. Hunting is a safe activity that brings family and friends together, and it's also safer than any other outdoor activity such as hiking, biking, or horseback riding. While even one hunting-related accident is one too many, the most recent PGC hunting-related shooting incident annual report from 2022 shows only 14 reported incidents with no fatalities. This is the lowest number recorded in Pennsylvania since 1915. Of those 14 reported incidents, only hunters were involved. There are often objections to the expansion of Sunday hunting opportunities based on concerns with shared time afield for both hunters and non-hunters. However, if the event calendars for any of the more popular outdoor non-hunting activities are reviewed, you will find a significant number of events that are scheduled on Saturdays throughout the year, including some of the prime spring and fall hunting days. Providing the Pennsylvania Game Commission with regular authority for Sunday hunting would seem to be a non-issue in the shared use of our outdoors. Hunters are already sharing every day we hunt with non-hunting public. Hunter Nation asks the legislators, please allow hunters to share that valuable time on Sundays as well. Hunter Nation also acknowledges that farmers feel that hunters trespassing on private property is a problem. The combined efforts and collaboration of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, Hunters United for Sunday Hunting, Hunter Nation, with input from the Pennsylvania Game Commission and the Pennsylvania Federation of Sportsmen and Conservationists, farmers and landowners have long dealt with this problem. This bill will benefit stakeholders, considering that 83% of the land in the state is privately owned. This is significant and much-needed legislation. It's worth pointing out that House Bill 2106 is designed to afford property owners protection from trespassing hunters, while ensure the due process is assured. Another bill Hunter Nation supports is House Bill 2107. Every year, farmers in the Commonwealth sustain enormous financial losses due to wildlife crop damage. Responsible hunters are willing to help farmers to reduce these losses. House Bill 2107 deals with crop damage mitigation and creates the opportunity to bring farmers and hunters together for a mutual purpose. As you're aware, the Board of Commissioners of Pennsylvania Game Commission is made up of 9 competent citizens of this Commonwealth who are informed in the subject of wildlife conservation and restoration. They are also responsible for ensuring the Commission fulfills the mission statement to manage and protect the wildlife of their habitats while promoting hunting and trapping for current and future generations. House Bill 2108 would ensure that at least one of the 9 citizens be knowledgeable of and actively engaged in normal agriculture operations. This would ensure the voices of our partners in agriculture, a leading industry in Pennsylvania. We are recognized and we are understanding that 2 of the 9 commissioners would meet this requirement. In summary, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Hunter Nation today, and I hope something I said resonated with you and has helped you to understand why this package of bills is needed, and it will benefit Pennsylvanians. I would also like to personally thank Representative Mandy Steele for her commitment in supporting our values, for her effort bringing all the groups together, and her leadership and hard work, and all the groups had an equal and fair process and voice. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the Pennsylvania State Chapter Chair of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers.
Chairs Kulik and Maloney, members of the committee, thank you for the invitation to speak to you today on behalf of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. My name is Adam Eckley. I'm the chairman for the Pennsylvania chapter. We are a nonprofit organization whose mission is to advocate for public lands, access and opportunity for hunting and fishing, and upholding the principles of the North American model for wildlife conservation. Our members represent every corner of the Commonwealth, We're a unique group with varying political affiliations, ethnicities, and creeds. I often meet with members that are young professionals from urban areas and diverse cultural backgrounds. Many of them are adopting the hunting lifestyle as adults, sparked by sustainable living, the lure of wild places, and the culinary delights of fresh natural protein. Studies indicate that our largest membership segment is 35 to 44 years old and evenly split across party lines. We are distributed throughout Pennsylvania and parallel with general population centers not concentrated in the rural areas often associated with hunting culture. Though our walks of life are very different, our love of the wilderness and the experiences that come along with it bind us together and strengthen the fabric of our organization. I began hunting in the early 90s. Though it feels like yesterday, our culture has changed dramatically. Like nearly every other aspect of our lives, hunting has been similarly affected. I'm fortunate that my two sons are adopting the proud hunting heritage that's been passed down to them for generations, but even still, hunting is much different for them than it was when I was their age. As in the professional world, students are constantly plugged in with year-round sports, flexible learning, and technology dominating the curriculum. It seems that the expectations are much higher for students too, and I feel sometimes that I should be the one in the classroom while I try to help my children with the new math they're taught in schools. Societal norms and technology have shaped the culture of our youth, our next generation of hunters, in a way that hasn't left much room for outdoor activities of any kind, much less hunting. BHA's largest demographic of hunters are in the peak earning years of their careers. They manage long work hours and raise their families far from the vast wilderness areas of our state. As if time isn't limited enough, this is compounded for youth hunters and their parents sharing custody arrangements where time available for hunting is further constrained. Our hunting population needs ample time afield to maintain their interest, and many of them travel long distances out of the confines of the city and suburbs. In light of these changing times, overall hunter numbers are declining across the United States. Lack of time, access, and opportunity are cited as some of the main reasons for the decline in recruitment and retention. The ban on Sunday hunting robs Pennsylvanians of half their weekend to recreate as they choose. It's a no hunting sign nailed to every tree and fence post across our entire state. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers fully supports Sunday hunting and the expanded opportunity it allows for wildlife management and recreation. A looming issue is a nationwide movement to sabotage the future of hunting through the appointment of special interest groups in our state's wildlife agencies. This is a growing trend as groups take action to undermine and control more than a century of successful science-based wildlife management. The Pennsylvania Board of Game Commissioners is tasked to set wildlife policy and to uphold the mission of the Pennsylvania Game Commission to manage and protect wildlife and their habitats while promoting hunting and trapping for current and future generations. It is required that members be citizens in the Commonwealth and well informed about wildlife conservation and restoration. Board members hail from a variety of professions, including scientists, educators, finance, and of course, agriculture. They represent all Pennsylvanians and gather feedback provided by constituents to make informed decisions about wildlife management. It is their diversity and individual areas of expertise, united by the common goal of upholding the PGC's mission, that has made Pennsylvania's wildlife management and public land system one of our state's greatest treasures. While the intent of House Bill 2108 may not be a direct attack on our public wildlife resource, passage of such a bill, creating what is essentially an assigned seat on the Board of Commissioners, sets a precedent that opens the door to nefarious organizations who wish to infiltrate our wildlife management system with purposes that directly oppose the principles outlined in the North American model of conservation. Assigning seats to this commission, or any commission, dilutes the votes that uphold the agency's values, placing special interests as a primary goal instead of protecting the resource that the citizens of Pennsylvania have entrusted them with. Madam Chair, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers does not support this type of legislation and formally requests a careful investigation into the disastrous consequences that have become a reality caused by it in other states. Careless decision-making in lieu of sound, science-based management risks the loss of our priceless wildlife resource, as does a failure to adapt to the changing times, which prevents the recruitment and retention of our future generations of hunters. Consumptive users, hunters, foot the bill for wildlife agencies across the nation. Here in Pennsylvania, that means our amazing 1.5 million acre state game land system and the 480 species managed by the Game Commission for the public. Without the contribution of sportsmen and women, how do we preserve Pennsylvania's rich hunting heritage, and who will be left to pay for and manage our public land, water, and wildlife once we are all gone. Thank you, Chairs Kulik and Maloney, members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak to you today. I, along with other representatives from our organization, are a consistent presence here in the Capitol, and I'd be grateful for the opportunity to continue a dialogue that benefits the future of Pennsylvania's wildlife resources.
Thank you. And now I would welcome the Director of the Pennsylvania Equine Council to speak. And if you could introduce yourself also.
My name is Capri Stiles Mikesel. Thank you for the opportunity to represent the Pennsylvania Equine Council. The council is a statewide organization preserving the safety, education, and recreation of horse owners across Pennsylvania. Ownership and use of the horse in Pennsylvania is a $10 billion industry and is one of the primary segments of large animal agriculture, with a total employment of 60,133 jobs. Yes, the equine industry includes the racehorse that one day may become retired as a trail horse. A recent economic impact study of the horse industry in Pennsylvania shows the equine recreation sector to be 14% larger than the racing sector. Now, let's think about how much attention the Pennsylvania Racing Horse Association gets, yet we are 14% larger. Let's shift gears to the relationship between the Pennsylvania Equine Council and the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Over the last 3.5 decades, the Pennsylvania Equine Council has worked closely with the Pennsylvania Game Commission to reestablish access to trails that had once been lost, those trails to be used by hunters and horseback riders alike. At one time, the organization worked hand in hand to establish, approve, and adopt standard operating procedures that were blessed by this legislation. Unlimited Sunday hunting will take away our well-established approved trail use due to safety concerns. Imagine the path of a squirrel with a semi-automatic weapon following it. Where's the horse? Where's the hiker? Where's the biker in that scenario? Our youth are not trained in their hunting safety to observe these people. They're only trained to look for other hunters wearing blaze orange. Opposing House Bill 2106 is an imperative step for legislators. Opposition will ensure that recreation on Pennsylvania lands is not further eroded by the PGC's proposed changes in regulation. The past several years, PGC has prohibited recreational use by equestrians on state game lands. Hence their statistics that there hasn't been one non-hunter injured. If you don't let us on the lands, we can't be injured. If we're afraid to be on the lands, we can't be injured. They've already driven us to Sundays only for our recreation. PEC recognizes hunting as an important part of Pennsylvania culture and wildlife management. We do not oppose hunting. I am a hunter. Pennsylvania residents deserve the ability to enjoy Pennsylvania outdoors without the fear of imposing themselves on a single hunter or finding themselves in the middle of an organized group hunt. The Pennsylvania Game Commission does not keep statistics on how many people have been harassed or threatened. They only keep statistics on how many people have been harmed. Granted, the PA Woods spans thousands of acres. 793,000 acres are used for horse-related purposes. The common denominator on those lands are the trails. The trails we ride are the same trails where hunters access the woods. The same trails where hunters watch for hunted game to step into the open. The same trails used for recreation are commonly used as a direct line of sight for shooters during group drives because it's the only clearing in heavily, densely wooded areas. This common group hunting practice is very, very dangerous for other trail users. Equestrian users passing through the woods actually flush and drive game from their beds. Picture this. We are increasing the likelihood of encountering a hunter taking a shot from any given direction. Preserving 1 day a week, 1 day, Sunday allows peace of mind for horseback riders and creates safer use of Pennsylvania public and private land for more than just hunting. Safety alone should be enough to oppose House Bill number 2106, oppose the Pennsylvania Game Commission takeover of all our public lands 7 days a week for nearly 6 months a year. The Pennsylvania Game Commission's mission statement is geared to preserving wildlife, not preserving recreation, as Ms. Steele would suggest. The council believes there is a safe balance for all recreation users in Pennsylvania, and daily hunting is not part of the equation. The Pennsylvania Equine Council believes if the public land or the public is limited in their use of the forest, then the public is likely to become disconnected from the forest. Therefore, we encourage opposing House Bill number 2106 and preserving the Pennsylvania public lands for safety, education, and recreation for equine communities, hikers, and bikers across the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now I will welcome the Horseshoe Conservancy.
Greetings, Don Newcomer with the Horseshoe Trail. I'm the maintenance co-chair. For the past 87 years, we have had access to 140 miles of the Horseshoe Trail located in southeastern Pennsylvania. Runs from Valley Forge to just north of here where it joins the Appalachian Trail. The PA Game Commission has reneged on a verbal commitment to keep the trail open for equestrians all year long. A recent decision was made to forbid equestrian access to the trail. They deem it as any other trail on state game lands. It, in a sense, closes it for nearly 6 months out of the year. The bylaws of the Horseshoe Trail, it is for hikers and equestrians. The trail has been there before the Pennsylvania Turnpike, before the last World War, and has never been challenged until a year and a half ago or so. In 1935, Henry Woman, the father of the Horseshoe Trail, approached the Game Commission and requested the use of the existing trails and game lands for equestrians and hikers. Permission for the trail was granted on the game lands that it passed through. It is roughly 31% of the 140-mile long trail. Since 1935, the trail has been rerouted into more sustainable areas and provide access for hunters, trappers, and fishermen. Our conservancy has maintained the trails, that we use. The Horseshoe Trail is the longest equestrian trail at 140 miles in southeastern Pennsylvania. In recent years, we have collaborated with the Natural Lands Trust Organization to purchase property which hosted the Horseshoe Trail. Acres of this property has been donated to the Game Commission for use as game lands, and we have stake in that. For 87 years prior to this recent decision, a verbal agreement had been in place with the Game Commission. Neither party felt a need for a written MOU. If that has changed in some way, we would like to work with you and work out something. In conclusion, we are unaware of any incident in the last 87 years which would cause you to change your verbal agreement with us. The trail is a public trail and open to all. On behalf of the Horseshoe Trail Conservancy, I'm asking for a written as well as a verbal agreement to allow equestrians on the legacy Horseshoe Trail and the connector trails from parking areas. With the possibility, we're reasonable, during regular firearm season, I understand that. But for those 6 months of the year, many times there's nobody in the woods. I've been there, I've done that. When we had the verbal agreement before they reneged on us, I've been out there on some of those other seasons. And there's nobody in the woods except us. And as far as safety, I've repeated comments from other people that the hunting is safe. that there's no incidents, why are they barring us from the trail? There's a legacy trail passes through 2 national parks, multiple county parks. Nobody else is restricting us. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. And now the Keystone Trails Alliance.
My name is Brooke Lenker, and I'm the Executive Director of Keystone Trails Association. Good morning, chairpersons and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to share my organization's thoughts about House Bill 2106 as it pertains to Sunday hunting in the Commonwealth. Keystone Trails Association is a statewide organization based in Mechanicsburg with a mission to provide, protect, preserve, and promote hiking trails and hiking opportunities in Pennsylvania. We strive to represent the concerns and opinions of the thousands of Pennsylvanians who comprise our ranks of members, donors, subscribers, and followers. Many of these individuals are hunters. Keystone Trails Association, or KTA for short, was founded in 1956. For 68 years, we have served as a voice for those who enjoy experiencing the sounds and sights of nature on the state's glorious network of footpaths. In past years, and prior to my tenure at KTA, has expressed staunch opposition to Sunday hunting. Many of our constituents corroborated our stance, sharing their disapproval, typically around safety fears and/or the erosion of the quietness revered during Sunday outings. This latter point deserves second mention. Noise induces stress. The cacophony of daily life can best be countered by immersion in the outdoors. For example, a peaceful trek through a forest or meadow. These points are underscored in a recent documentary produced by the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation entitled The Role of Quiet. We understand arguments for opening more Sundays to hunting. They present expanded opportunities to hunt and mentor young people in the ways of hunting. They offer an additional tool in efforts to manage the deer herd and reduce crop damage. Connecting our youth to the natural world is a critical quest, as is the imperative of curbing the financial losses of our farmers. Data is inconclusive on the dangers of having many Sundays available to hunt. It is a popular day to hike, bike, ride horses, and relish other recreational pursuits. The discharge of firearms poses unequivocal threats to other users of public lands. They also emit a disconcerting boom that disrupts the solitude and joy of another person's consummate day in the woods. Many people will avoid hiking if hunting activity is imminent. Trail-based pursuits are growing in popularity. On the Sunday hunting question, caution is warranted to avoid deterring the thousands of hikers, bikers, trail runners, equestrians, and other non-hunters who permeate wildlands on Sundays and contribute substantially to Pennsylvania's outdoor recreation economy. More importantly, caution is essential because of the potential for injury from tragic hunting accidents. And that's not hyperbole, but real statistical probability. More days with hunters and non-hunters intersecting in the same spaces means a greater chance of bad things happening. How will they know hunting is in progress? How will it be amply communicated? We recognize the political inertia for allowing the PA Game Commission to include and set Sundays as they deem fit for hunting purposes. But I respectfully ask that caution be the operative word in adding further Sundays to the seasonal mix. The pace of adding days should be slow and judicious. Monitoring must be rigorous. Incidents must be thoroughly investigated and findings shared transparently. The Commission and the Legislature should evaluate the results of HB 2106 should it become law. If experiential conflicts increase between hunters and hikers or other trail users, or hunting accidents rise, mechanisms to retract Sundays should be authorized. Another consideration might be to limit any Sunday hunting to state game lands and private farmland. This would allow other public lands, like state forests, to remain respites for trail-based recreation on those days. The Sunday hunting issue is much more than a matter of jettisoning a blue law. It is about the rights of the citizens of the Commonwealth to have most of their sublime fall Sundays free from the dangers of a stray bullet, to savor the serenity of Penn's Woods, and to take their children safely outside. Thank you for considering our perspective.
Thank you very much. And before we continue, I would like to welcome Representative Mirsky, who has joined us. I'm sure he had a fabulous day yesterday up in Erie County. Good, good. We were to hear from the Nittany Mountain Bikers Association. However, their representative has been unable to attend, but will provide testimony. I will also welcome any groups who were not on the schedule to testify today to, if they feel the need, to please provide us with a letter or testimony of your position on these bills. And now I'd like to if any of the committee members have any questions or comments, now is the time. Representative Banta.
Hi, thank you, Chairwoman, and I want to thank the prime sponsor for these bills. I grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania. I come from a farming family, dairy, beef. Hunting is part of the tradition. I'm sure I've blown probably $50,000 on hunting gear. And we have a lot of fun in the woods, and it's a short period, really, of the winter when we can cut away from the jobs and trying to survive in this economy and pay the bills and get in the woods. And it's a great tradition. We have a little camp. I don't do much there, but pay taxes on it. Hunt there a little bit. It's a lot of fun. So, but I also want to say that I've had horses on my farm, and we rode the horses too. I never have seen the conflict between the two, really, where we're at. Hunting is something that you'll see. You get these hunters that get in the woods, and they're, for a couple weeks, and that's it. They get out there, and it's reality is that we got to pay the bills, so they go back to work. But you want to get out in the woods and enjoy it. As far as the Pennsylvania Game Commission goes, I want to say that hunting is your bread and butter, and you know that. Sometimes I think when I talk to my constituents, they are a little bit, pushback on different issues like this. But at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat here. We want to be able to use the woods and use the trails. I don't blame you one bit. I love riding horses on those trails. So I think we can come to a good compromise here and find, what Sundays you want to hunt or more Sundays, or whether it's on certain areas. I mean, this is something that we're all in the same boat here again. And I see both sides of this. It's very important that we're here talking about it today. And my constituents have indicated to me they would like the Sunday hunting because of their work week. That's what I've heard from them. Again, as far as horse riding goes, I enjoy it. I plan on getting some more horses. So let's work together and find a good solution on this where we all can agree on it, and work with the Game Commission to, to make this part of our economy. Pennsylvania, it's such a huge part of our economy. And as far as the farming, one last thing I want to say is that I'm more concerned. Well, crop damage is certainly a concern, but I'm also concerned about the solar panels going up and taking our acreage. So I want to make note of that today, guys. Thank you. And I guess if there's any questions I have, it would be, what has the impact on Sunday hunting already done for the population of the deer? Can you answer that, sir?
Director Burhans will let you answer that one.
You know, specific to Sunday hunting, it's definitely helpful in meeting our harvest goals. But one thing we found, and we knew this going into it, is that the number of hunters out on Sunday is typically not like a Saturday. And with the, we really comes down to how many antlerless tags the agency puts out there and makes available to hunters, and that's really how we control the hunting season. But again, for some hunters, myself included, it increases my opportunity 100%. That's a great opportunity. Thank you.
You may as well stay there for now. Okay, Representative Devanzo.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And my question is for Brian, imagine that. I'd like to talk about not so much the appointment to the board for someone that has a background in farming. What exactly, or agriculture, I should say, what exactly does that look like? Because as we see these things play out, and in my 4 years of being here, it seems like nobody ever keeps their end of the deal down the road. Everybody's always coming back saying, hey, we were supposed to get this and we didn't. How does the governor, how does he select that person? Is the Farm Bureau involved in it? And what exactly is knowledge of agriculture, right? Because I live on a farm.
Right.
But if it come down to me, I would call the realtor and get rid of the farm if that's what it would come down to. But, just touch on that if you could.
Yeah, I can speak to how the process currently happens is that individuals are solicited to apply for a commissioner position. They have interviews with the Governor's Council of Hunting and Fishing, and they take notes and provide those notes to the governor, and the governor then makes the selection and then provides that name to the Senate for confirmation.
And this is something that the Farm Bureau is all right with? Are you guys confident that you're going to be in a room at this time when this all breaks down, or will be left out? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Representative Haddock.
Okay, Brian, you testified that Sunday hunting isn't quite as popular as Saturday. Do we have any statistics to show how popular it is on a Sunday versus a weekday?
I don't have any numbers for you for that, to answer that.
My feedback and my experience, my 2 hunting cabins that I'm very affiliated with in my area is that Sunday is very popular because, again, it's the weekend. So, all in all, I support Sunday hunting. But I'm surprised to hear we don't have little stats because that was a big step when we were able to start Sunday hunting, and I'm surprised we didn't do any feedback from our hunters on that with the commission.
Well, I do have feedback from the hunters through surveys.
Okay.
Absolutely. And what it shows, it depends on the age group, but I've got them right here so I don't misspeak. Overall, and this was a random survey of 20,000 hunters, and amazingly got 9,000 responses, which is just a tremendous response.
It is tremendous.
Yeah. So what we found that when asked the question, have you hunted on any of the 3 Sundays, 63.7% said yes, and only 36 58.3% said no. When we asked, do you support increasing the number of days on which Sunday hunting is allowed, 55.6% supported, 34.1% opposed, and 10.3% were neutral. What's interesting is when you break this out by age, for hunters over the age of 55, 55.3% said they participated, and 44.7% said they didn't participate. And I can email you this too, so, the survey. Of hunters over 55 years old, when asked if they wanted to see an increase in the number of days, 47.8% say they support it, 40.8 oppose, and 11.4 neutral. Under 55 is where it gets interesting. In this category, 75.7% of the hunters took advantage of a hunting opportunity, with only 24.3 not taking advantage of it. And when asked to increase the number of days, 66.7% support, 24.5% oppose, and 8.8% are neutral. It's even more interesting when you look at the age demographic, 35 to 49. 78.8% of the hunters participated in at least one of the Sundays. And when asked if we should increase the number of Sundays available, 70.5% said yes, 21.6% opposed, and 7.8% were neutral.
So again, to my question, then I would take it that if you have surveys that are overwhelmingly supportive of Sunday hunting from our hunters.
Well, you have many people I talk to. Again, this is more anecdotal. A hunter can support Sunday hunting, but not participate in Sunday hunting. That's why when to answer your first question, we didn't have anybody out in the field counting hunters on a Saturday versus Sunday. Anecdotally, the reports I received back that, yeah, there were definitely hunters out, and this has been my experience, but not near as many as you would see on a Saturday.
Okay. All right. If I could, I'd like to ask the Farm Bureau a couple questions.
Okay, come on up.
So and in your testimony, I'm sorry, how long were you with the Farm Bureau? So I don't.
With Farm Bureau,
Yeah.
I've been a Farm Bureau member for 17 or 18 years.
Okay, good. So I see the Farm Bureau did a lot of advocacy with the Sunday hunting and asked for a couple conditions to be put in to the bill, or you were totally not support it. You wanted all the conditions. Is that what your testimony was? And then not you, the Farm Bureau, of course.
So Sunday hunting has been an interesting issue for Farm Bureau, and it has been one of the two most contentious topics in Farm Bureau discussions, the other being dairy policy, which we're not talking about today, fortunately. And I've actually been on the other side on this issue for a long time. In my home county of Center County, the county had historically opposed Sunday hunting with great intent up until the last couple of years. And the challenge that we have in agriculture is our crop damage issues have become so intensive that farmers are realizing that we need to take additional action. And this is why there has been a slow pivot to supporting Sunday hunting if we can appropriately manage those crop damage issues through additional efforts as are discussed in the proposed legislation. If we don't get the additional crop damage measures, then we would remain out of that battle. We would not support Sunday hunting. That's why it's an inclusive package for us. We need all of these issues. And by the way, there are other things on the horizon that we're going to need in order to minimize crop damage so that we can continue to feed the world. Food is our most essential resource compared to anything else in the world. And we are in a state with increasing food insecurity and farmers who are working multiple jobs in order to support their farms and to feed the world. And so the deficit caused by crop damage is something we really need to manage.
Absolutely. Just so you know, I own a farm, part owner, and we don't live there anymore. So I know full well, if we plant less than 10 acres of corn, we don't, and again, we're mostly feeding the deer because we lose the vast majority because we're near some deep woods, and it's the oasis. They come in and they pulverize us, so we get very little yield. So crop damage is big, and I'm glad that the Farm Bureau and the farmer, as a agriculture industry, is understanding that Sunday is a way to go to meet the goals of managing the deer population in particular, because crop damage is mostly by deer, although you have your other animals that'll go in, including bear and our raccoons and other animals that do eat our crops. So, but now, interesting, and I'm just trying to get a feel here. The Sunday hunting, do you feel that some of the farms may be opened if we have some of these other protections? Because the goal is to eliminate or alleviate some of the crop damage. And how are the farm community, what do you think about, because all the land, somebody testified earlier, a lot of the land seems to be posted anymore. 87% of our land in Pennsylvania are private. Do you think the farm community is going to, and again, yet one of the conditions you asked for was a plan to have farmers be able to get a listing of hunters so they can invite people in on their farm to hunt. How much do you think private land or agricultural land may be opened up?
It's a fantastic question. And so one of the challenges that we've had is that, like a lot of things in life, a few bad actors have ruined the potential for hunting on other lands. As an example, my own farmland is posted. It was not posted by choice. I had a trespasser smoking outside a barn full of straw, and the state police told me to post that land. And so improved trespassing laws to make it inconceivable that someone will trespass for any reason on land should improve the trust between the agricultural community, private landowners, and hunters. I believe that's a positive goal worth working for.
All right. And and again, I have a strong background with dog hunting, from rabbit hunting to coyote hunting and fox hunting. So there's a little concern with the retrieval of dogs. And I know the policy is written, the bill is written, really, because again, predators are a big part of the equation. So how much of a deal breaker is it to the Farm Bureau if we lighten the load for people to retrieve their dogs?
Well, I believe there are protections already in place for dogs to be retrieved. And I think those protections are not just in Title 34. I was reading Title 18. They exist elsewhere in code. So I think that's perhaps a little bigger than just this particular arena or this forum.
So you don't think it's a sticking point with the Farm Bureau?
It is an issue that people have talked to us about, yes. But I don't think that it's something compared to the amount of crop damage issue that we have, which is a many $million issue. I think that's something that we can talk through.
Okay. Well, there is some issues. There's some gray area in the bill as written, and we might be amending it. I was just curious to see how the Farm Bureau is adamant or willing to work with the
This
situation.
is an issue that we are aware of.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You. Okay, Representative Steele, you have an opportunity to make comments. We are on the time.
Okay, Chair, I'll be quick. I just want to note that when drafting this legislation, a provision was inadvertently left out, which would provide for an unarmed individual who enters posted property for the sole purpose of retrieving a hunting dog would not be in violation. So if this bill is scheduled for a vote in committee, we have an amendment prepared, and I'll be offering that amendment. Two quick questions. One I would direct to Hunter Nation, who really helped to shape the trespass portion of this package of legislation. And I wonder if you could expand upon that.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to invite Regional Director Dan Sneath up for that one, if he had a big part in trespass.
Hello, my name's Dan Sneath. I'm a Regional Director with Hunter Nation. I have some experience in law enforcement, retired from the Pennsylvania State Police after 27 and a half years. When John started working on this last summer, trying to even think about what we were going to do, how to work this through, one of the big issues we started talking about was increasing the penalties and the way trespassing would be handled. You know, it wasn't with the Game Commission. My father was with the Game Commission. So I draw on his experiences from that to kind of know a little bit about the Game Commission. Although he retired 20 years ago, he still has some knowledge about how that enforcement end of it works. So when we did it, the whole idea was to increase penalties while maintaining due process for the accused. There was an issue with whether the law should say shall be suspended or revoked. That went to maybe. That way I took it out of the magistrate's hand and put it onto the Game Commission to be the one that has to do that. The person has the ability then, through due process, to take their case to the Game Commission and have the Game Commission hear their case to determine whether they should be suspended or revoked. And if they have any mitigating issues, they can present them to the Game Commission. It takes it away from the magistrate having to do it. Penalties were increased as far as the degree of the summary, and also putting in the misdemeanor counts for certain offenses.
Thank you, Mr. Sneath. And then my final question is from Joe Hohenstein. He asked that I ask a question of Director Burhans. Director Burhans, Rep. Hohenstein asked that I get a little bit more information on, I believe, what you described as your plan to slow roll Sunday happening, Sunday hunting, if this bill is to move. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course, I can't speak for the Board of Commissioners, who are the ones that would make that determination. But in past practice, I used the example of the semi-automatic rifles. They took very measured steps in that based on input from the hunters and other stakeholders. So the commissioners typically act very, again, stepwise in implementing policy. And yet, again, because I can't tell them what to do, but that's kind of how they've moved forth on other policy issues.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chair Maloney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, people, for spending your time here and much discussion of this for a long time. However, I don't know that I will ask questions due to the time. I keep looking at that clock, but that clock doesn't work. Leave it up to the Capitol. But that's an endangered species. Please remove that endangered species. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us.
Not. He couldn't hear that part. Good humor. So there's a few things that I've looked at with respect to, without taking a position, pretty much without telling you I'm in my 51st hunting season and been around for more than most of you people in this room and some of the testifiers before they were even born. However, I do think unintended consequences sometimes is very, very real. I also think language, and I think the statutory problems that we have in the state that we deal with on a regular basis has come to my mind. And I just want to put out a few things that would be asked as a question, but it would be mostly for you to think about with respect to moving forward or even just looking at what's been proposed. And I might just scatter all over the place with some of my notes that I have had for quite some time. For those of you who have followed any of this time frame, especially in the last 12 years or so, my biggest concern as a hunter, as a Pennsylvanian, as somebody who believes in Penn's Woods, and been critical of the Game Commission over, is our habitat. And habitat has come up here over and over and over for more reasons than you may have heard with respect to it. You know, some of you know that I've brought up the ruffed grouse, our state bird. It is only now being identified as a couple projects. I was like a broken record for many years on this issue. Besides the fact that we have these internal problems within the Game Commission that are just seeming to me to make it more difficult for people to even trust. Surveys are random. Even if you think about the last survey that was talked about, 20,000 people out of the said 775,000 hunters. If you were to do these things at point of sale, just like if we were to elect commissioners by the sportsmen so that the sportsmen could challenge their elected commissioner within their region, who should be very understanding to the mission at hand. To me, that is where we need to start with respect to true reform and how we get these understanding regions of people, be it the Southeast, people in the trails, be it up north, be it in the center of state. Hunting dogs. Do we even really identify or give a definition to what a hunting dog is? You know, most species that we even have as pets in our homes were created as a hunting dog. Are we just going to say any dog? How about the dogs that are loose on private property chasing game? What do we do with that? These are all questions that you need to consider. And I would really strongly consider the fact that some people think that you have to force somebody to deny their Second Amendment by not being armed. You have a constitutional problem there. Serious problem. How about the Farm Bureau issues that have been brought up that I'm going to speak to a couple things that I think are a challenge. First of all, this idea that we're overrun with white-tailed deer is just nauseating to me. That is not factual. You may have hot spots in the state of Pennsylvania, but as I speak to a lot of hunters all over the country, there's a reason that Pennsylvania sends the most hunters out of state than any other state in the country. There's a reason for that. Think about that statistic. We have a multi-billion-dollar nationwide industry on food plots. What do you think a crop is? What are they? Seems like they're a food plot to me. And you're going to draw animals from anywhere and everywhere, especially when the habitat is so poor. So these are things that I look at when I see some of the verbiage, when I hear some of the things that are said that aren't really factual. They're not really truthful. I would say be sincere about what the issues are. I have a man who just bought a farm in my neighborhood. He paid $2.2 million for it. He's putting an 8-foot fence up around it. That's what he's doing. I'm not saying that's the answer, but that's why I bring these things forward with respect to, do I do food plotting? Absolutely. Do I actually allow my excess fields to be planted by a farmer? Absolutely. My wife grew up on an orchard, part of which I continued to plant trees. For me, it's mostly nut trees and some fruit trees. But for me to think that I'm doing this to enhance wildlife and not get them there, like a soybean patch, I think is disingenuous, and we need to consider that that's what it is. Try putting a bird feeder up in the middle of a city. Tell me how many days it takes before a squirrel finds it. This is a reality, folks. And this is a problem that I have been pretty much hopeful that it would be addressed. There is no real data, to be honest, to the Sunday days versus a Saturday or what happened with the 3 days that we have. That's not really an accurate estimation. It's more of the fuzzy math, okay? So think about some of the verbiage in the bill about killing the game on a farm. If I'm not mistaken, some of that language says human consumption cannot take place. We talk about feeding the people, and you can kill a deer, but you can't consume it. Think about this. Red tags. That's 24/7 killing white-tailed deer that happens in my neighborhood. And they collect the crop damage insurance. That's a reality. That's not hyperbole. That's not some made-up statement. That's a reality. So let's be honest about what we're trying to do. I've said many a times as a hunter, I could certainly hunt 8 days out of the week. I'm not talking about me. It is a little problematic sometimes for me to listen to be lectured on people who have hardly ever hunted or even spent any amount of time out in the woods. But think about the things that may be in this language across the board that could be a problem. Consumption, the killing of more animals without even any kind of constraint. The fact that there is compensation in one aspect of it. I had a farmer I had to basically kick off my fields at one time. Want to know why? He never harvested one bean or one ear of corn. I used to ask him, what's going on? I just didn't get to it. Until somebody came to me, dumb me, and he said, Dave, he's collecting insurance on it, and they just plowing it under. I didn't know it. That's a reality. That's what's going on. So, we can talk all day about opportunity and priorities, and you as a father and a parent, kudos to you for realizing that we have a great heritage. But step to the plate with honest data and be a part of things that I happen to have been passionate about, like the youth and getting more availability with respect to what they know is near them. Tremendous amount of trout stocking. I was on a Zoom the other day with the Fish Commission, and it was interesting, one of the statistics that they used. Without the trout stocking in Pennsylvania, like 2/3 of the state would not have those fish in our streams. That's a big number. It all relates. And for me, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see the fact that hunters and sportsmen are truly represented. And I believe everybody in this room, if you think that, then get on board. Get on board. Get the hunters involved with picking those commissioners. I'm passionate about it, and I think every one of you should be, because that's how you get representation. I'll be glad to talk to anybody over it. Many of you people never stopped by my office, never heard of you. I'm very available. I've been all over this state except for the Southwest hunting. Don't think I ran into any one of you. I might have ran into somebody riding a bike somewhere or shooting range or wherever it was. But at the end of the day, folks, We need to have a focused message on facts, not hyperbole and not rhetoric, because this is real. This is a tremendous reality to me that this heritage must continue, because if you continue to get the rub from any other group, you're going to lose. And I think we need to stay focused on that, regardless of how one day a week gets expanded. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of our informational hearing today. I want to thank everybody, all my colleagues and our speakers for keeping us so much on time today. It is wonderful to have, go ahead.
Oh, one that says push? So, occurred to me that sometimes the answer to this whole issue is just way too simple. You know, instead of adding more days to hunting, why don't you increase the bag limits? Shoot as many as it takes. Make it higher. If you wanted to, shoot 100 deer a year. You know, we don't need more days. That's the simple answer.
And I appreciate hearing from our hunters, our farmers, and everyone else, our hikers, our horse people. I know what a tremendous industry it is in Pennsylvania. I think all of us on this panel are very aware of what our equine industry contributes to the economy of Pennsylvania. And I greatly appreciate all of you being here, and your testimony is taken to heart. We are currently at a work in progress with these bills, and are looking at how we can, if we need to improve what we've written, if we need to amend what we've written to see where we are on these. So please understand that, and that I know that myself, the good chairman here, and Representative Steele are very open to hearing from everyone here. And I want to thank you again for coming. If you've come a great distance to be here to testify to us, I greatly appreciate that, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you, and this meeting is adjourned.